Decided to start making some videos again. Kind of stopped after when I swapped out my cam. I'd recorded a lot of it and had a lot of it ready to be edited, but I just missed a bunch of chunks. And then after that, like, things just got real crazy with the car, like non-stop, going to work, coming to work on the car. It wasn't time to film, kind of lost motivation for it. But now we kind of got some time again. I want to get back into it, so I'm going to go over the car real quick for a minute or so and catch the YouTube world up on what's new. Not too much different in the engine bay. Biggest thing I've done since then is new exhaust, new headers and back. We got a brand new Edelbrock water pump on here, just to flow a little bit better. New expansion tank, new valve covers. Everything under here is pretty much the same so far. We'll show you the underside. The biggest difference besides the exhaust is we got an all new electronic ignition from Pertronics, which is actually who makes my distributor. Right here, this is the digital HP ignition box. It's got a full 3-step. It's got a 2-step launch control, your regular rev limiter, and the 3rd step is a burnout control. I don't have it wired up because I'm not drag racing. I don't need a burnout RPM control, but it is there. It's a great system. I love it. Here's the underside. We can see it's extremely dirty under here. So much mud from Clubloose. A little bit of an oil leak maybe from my intake, it looks like. But the biggest thing we've done is the exhaust. A big 5-inch teardrop tip, 3-inch from the axle back, which take all pie cuts basically. As you can see, went off track a little bit and got a little bit rowdy. All V-bands, Y-pipe, using a stamped Y-pipe section from Summit, 2.5-inch off the headers back. The headers run to here. I modified the flange, cut the flange off and welded on like these down tubes. Run back to the 2.5-inch V-bands. So we got the Y-band bungs in here. That's pretty much the biggest thing I've done in the car. But let's get to what we're doing today. So for those of you guys who aren't familiar with older motors, this is a distributor. Small block Chevys, small block Fords, anything old basically before like CDIs came around had distributors. 240s have distributors, but they're like computer controlled timing. These are a little bit older and they're still manually set timing. But basically you have a couple parts. This is the cap, and as you can see, my cap is like way shredded. There's a nut stuck in there. A couple of the contacts are really messed up. And if you look at my rotor, this is your rotor, by the way, which is barely staying on here. It is torn up, so I'll take it off and show you. Alright, so what happened was I was coming around the corner at Clubloose. I just changed a set of tires. It was the last hour of the night. I ran over to the front track, decided to get some laps in there. I've been on back track all night with C Group. So let me go to front track, get some laps in. Haven't played around up there yet, and I really do like front tracks. A lot of different things up there. And come in, initiate on the e-brake, come up around the first hill. Boom, car just shuts off, backfires. Try to start it, and the way it's sputtering, I can tell like timing's off, it jumped or something. So I get back, and the way these caps are held on is like these like spring loaded. If it'll focus, these little turn things, they're like spring loaded. Well, they were like totally, the cap was off. Oh, the cap fell off. Don't know how. Put the cap back on, still didn't start, pulled it apart. And this is what the rotor looked like. It was kind of just laying in there. And as you can see, the one screw was wedged in there. I just got it out. And this is actually, the way this works is when this spins, this triggers one of these 8 points to tell which cylinder to fire. And this is just not going to work very well. So it was all torn up. I got able to get run back on the trailer, but this is what it's supposed to look like. Quite the difference. And the cap here, this is a brand new cap, all nice and good. These are like pretty standard parts for a small block Chevy tune-up. These shouldn't have needed to be replaced yet, but these screws fell out. So as you can see, all those points are freaking torn up. So we're gonna replace that and retime the motor today. Now the way these distributors advance timing is through these little weights that move and spin out and allow the rotor to adjust its position as you go faster. So basically the timing curve can be optimized for your motor. As you can see, one of my springs got messed up here. So we had to order a new timing advanced kit, which includes the springs, and these here are actually limiters to limit how far those weights move out. Alright, so I got a new spring set up on there with these limiters that are supposed to take out 4 degrees of timing. So we're going to throw the cap back on, put the wires on, warm this thing up, and set the timer. There it is, all together. Ignore that last video, I forgot to put the rotor on, but I put the rotor on and the cap, tightened it up so it shouldn't fall off this time. So it's all good. Next we have to warm the car up at the temperature, and then we're gonna play with this piece of magic here, which is how you set your timing. There it is, idling. Basically the issue is if you have too much initial or advanced timing, basically when the motor starts, the timing will be so far off that it won't start. And you can adjust that just by turning this on the small block Chevy. It's such a crude but simple design, and it works great. Pretty much I completely forgot to wrap up the video, so I'm gonna finish that now. It's really hot out here, I'm sweaty as hell, but I did manage to get the timing dialed in. I meant to kind of record using the timing light and explain how to do that, but I didn't. But there's plenty of information on the internet if you want to learn about that, so just Google it. I'm checking right now. The current mood is checking to see if I have a blown head gasket. Basically, I'm just using the compression tester hose right here to pressurize the cylinders to see if bubbles come out of the coolant. And so far, no bubbles have come out, but it like gets infinitely hot and doesn't really like losing the temperature once it gains it. So I'm not really sure. Like this setup should cool it. It's the X-Line Mishimoto with the ISR dual fan, Edelbrock water pump, and at idle, like it just won't lose heat. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass. You got to do a couple cool down laps usually, and then after a couple laps you do it again. So I'm trying to figure that out. Not really working out. But who knows? Maybe the head gasket's bad. I kind of hope the head gaskets are bad because it's a pretty easy job and relatively inexpensive, and that will solve all my problems. And that, like, if that's the problem, that'd be great. But so far, it's not looking like it. All other 7 cylinders have been good. This last one, maybe it's the bad one. Let's kind of hope, because it means I can fix this and be good. Maybe the heads or block is cracked, possibly. Hopefully the head's a lot easier to replace. But I don't know. We're gonna test this last one and see what happens. So far it's been a couple minutes. No bubbles from the last cylinder. So maybe it isn't the head gasket. Kind of have a feeling I'm just gonna like pull the heads anyway, because it's such an easy job to do on this motor, especially in this car. It's so open and easy to get to. So I have a feeling it's gonna end up being me pulling these heads anyway, just to make sure that they're sealed. Because if you know, it could be a problem when the motor gets hot. I did warm it up, but it is losing temperature as it sits here, so it could be getting hotter, expanding, and then that's when the cracks open up or anything like that. So I am gonna probably end up pulling the heads, it looks like. But that's it for this video. The timing did work. Usually small blocks like around like 32 to 38 degrees from what I've read online. I'm at 41 degrees of timing, which is kind of one of the reasons I think the head gaskets are bad. I believe like coolant is getting in the mixture, which is why it needs that extra degrees of timing to help combat that. And it's not pinging. And at 41 degrees, that's pretty advanced. Should be pinging, but it's not. It was running way better than it ever has, but I'm gonna guess it has something to do with these heads. So that looks like it's gonna be the next wave.